She stepped out of her condo and vanished, without a scream, without a trace, without a single eyewitness. Her car turned up days later, parked neatly in a lot she'd never been to, captured on grainy surveillance, driven by someone no one could identify. Not then. Not now. No forced entry. No clear motive. No body. Just silence and questions. Jennifer Kesse was 24. Smart. Ambitious. Loved by everyone who knew her. But on a quiet morning in January 2006, she disappeared off the face of the earth, and whoever took her knew exactly what they were doing. This isn't just a missing persons case. It's a chilling study in how a life can be erased in plain sight. If you're drawn to the strange, the unexplained, and the terrifying truths that hide behind everyday lives, hit that subscribe button. Join us as we uncover stories that don't just haunt the headlines, they haunt people forever. This is the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. She was the kind of woman people noticed, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried herself like someone who had it all figured out. Jennifer Kesse was born in New Jersey, but it was Florida where she found her rhythm. She grew up in Tampa, graduated from Vivian Gaither High School, and was the type of student teachers remembered, not just for being smart, but for being driven. She was sharp, meticulous, and mature beyond her years. College took her to the University of Central Florida in Orlando. A finance major with a laser focus, Jennifer didn't party much. She wasn't reckless. She planned, she executed, and she thrived. In 2003, she graduated with a degree in finance and quickly carved out a career path that was both stable and promising. By 2006, she was 24 and working as a finance manager at a timeshare company in Ocoee. That alone was impressive for her age, but Jennifer wasn't just climbing the ladder, she was building the whole staircase. She had just purchased her first condo, a sleek unit in a gated complex near downtown Orlando. It was her own space. Her own life. And by all appearances, it was exactly the life she had worked for. To friends, she was warm and loyal. To co-workers, she was polished and professional. And to her family, she was everything. They were close, tight-knit in a way that made the distance between Tampa and Orlando seem trivial. She called often. She never disappeared, never went quiet. So when she did, everything stopped. Just days before her disappearance, Jennifer had been on vacation with her boyfriend. A last-minute escape to the U.S. Virgin Islands, sunlight, beaches, cocktails. They laughed, swam, dreamed aloud about the future. On Sunday, January 22nd, they flew back to Florida. She spent the night at his place, then headed directly to work the next morning. Monday, January 23rd, she showed up to the office like usual. Colleagues said she was upbeat, maybe a little tired from travel, but otherwise herself. She left around 6 p.m., called her father during the drive, just a quick check-in like she always did, and made it home. Later that night, around 10 p.m., she called her boyfriend. They talked for a few minutes, nothing unusual. She was heading to bed, gearing up for another day. And then, she vanished. Tuesday morning came with silence. No morning text. No call to say she was on her way. Her boyfriend tried her phone. Straight to voicemail. That wasn't like her. Not even close. He told himself maybe she had a meeting. Maybe she was running late. But by mid-morning, the anxiety set in. At her office, Jennifer hadn't shown up for work. No call. No explanation. Her boss, knowing this wasn't her style, reached out to her parents. Within minutes, they were in the car, racing down I-4 from Tampa to Orlando. They called ahead to her apartment complex. The manager used a spare key to check her unit. Inside, everything was undisturbed. The bed was made. Towels were damp in the bathroom, her hair tools unplugged but recently used. An outfit was laid out. Her shoes were missing, but her suitcase from the trip had been unpacked. It looked like she had gotten up that morning, showered, dressed, and walked out the door. But her car wasn't there. When her parents arrived that afternoon, panic turned into action. They called the police, who initially didn't consider it urgent. Jennifer was an adult. Maybe she had left on her own. Maybe she needed space. But her family knew better. That evening, they began handing out flyers. Friends joined in. Volunteers hit the streets. Police organized a search, on foot, in cars, even with helicopters. But they weren't searching for a missing woman anymore. They were looking for anything that could tell them where Jennifer had gone. 2 days passed. Then, a phone call. A man living at an apartment complex just over a mile away recognized her photo on the news. Her car, a black Chevy Malibu, had been parked outside his building since Tuesday. Police arrived fast. They had the car towed, dusted it for prints. Surveillance footage showed someone driving it into the lot at exactly 12 p.m. on the day she disappeared. The person parked the car calmly and walked away. Not hurried. Not nervous. Just gone. The footage was grainy. The camera snapped one image every 3 seconds. And somehow, in each of those frames, the person's face was hidden behind the bars of the complex gate. Not once, every time. Investigators couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. They estimated the height, between 5 feet 3 inches and 5 feet 5 inches, but that was it. Nobody recognized the figure. The walk, the posture, none of it rang a bell. The FBI got involved. NASA even analyzed the video. But the person in those 3 frames remained a ghost. Inside the car, there were no signs of a struggle. No blood. No damage. No items out of place. It had been wiped clean. The only things missing were Jennifer's cell phone, her purse, her keys, her briefcase, her iPod, and the clothes she wore that morning. The scent-tracking dogs picked up a trail leading from the parked car back to her apartment complex, suggesting the person might have walked back after ditching the vehicle. But that path led nowhere. The scent stopped cold. The trail died. Theories began to swirl. Police questioned her ex-boyfriend, someone who, by some accounts, hadn't taken the breakup well. But his alibi checked out. They questioned her current boyfriend. He was ruled out. Co-workers were interviewed, including a manager who had allegedly shown interest in Jennifer romantically. She turned him down, firmly, respectfully. He, too, was cleared. At the time, the condo where Jennifer lived was undergoing major construction. Dozens of workers, most of them non-English speaking, were all over the property. Jennifer had told her parents that some of them made her feel uncomfortable. She'd been catcalled, watched, whispered about. But when police tried to question them, they ran into language barriers and a lack of cooperation. Nothing stuck. Jennifer's disappearance wasn't just a mystery. It was clean. Too clean. Like someone had erased her with intent. And all the while, the only piece of potential evidence, the one that should have been a breakthrough, was a blurry video of someone slipping away, face hidden by fence posts, as if the universe itself didn't want them seen. No ransom demands. No bank activity. No pings from her phone. Jennifer Kesse was gone. And the more they searched, the darker the shadows became. Days turned into weeks, and still, nothing. No witnesses came forward. No useful tips. No one had seen or heard a thing. It was like Jennifer had stepped out of her condo and dissolved into the air. Her parents stayed in Orlando, turning her apartment into a base of operations. They worked day and night, following leads, knocking on doors, begging for help. Her father retraced the walk from her front door to the parking lot over and over, trying to understand how someone could vanish in such a short distance. Her mother sat on the edge of the bed Jennifer had made that morning, staring at the folded towel she left behind. Every detail felt frozen in time, but the world had moved on without her. As the investigation dragged on, frustration mounted. Early missteps by police began to show. Her car, which might have held critical evidence, hadn't been properly secured for hours. By the time forensic teams examined it, Fingerprints were smudged, surfaces compromised. Surveillance footage from nearby locations, potentially showing more of the suspect's path, was never collected. Time was lost. And in a case like this, time is everything. Still, her family refused to give up. They launched their own investigation. Hired private detectives. Pored over the case files, police reports, digital records. They started building timelines, logging witness accounts, mapping locations. And slowly, pieces began to emerge. Jennifer had mentioned something to her family in the weeks before she vanished, offhand comments that suddenly felt significant. She'd been uncomfortable around the construction workers at her complex. Men she didn't know would stare at her when she came and went. She said it felt like they were watching her. One day, she even told her parents she was going to start using the garage entrance more often, less visible, less exposed. But she never said anything concrete. Nothing that could point to one person. Just feelings. Instincts. Now, they were haunting. The police tried to interview the workers, but many were undocumented, hesitant to speak, or already gone by the time detectives followed up. No records. No names. Just silence. Inside her apartment, nothing seemed to have been taken. Her jewelry, electronics, untouched. It didn't feel like a robbery. It didn't feel random. It felt targeted. And yet, there was no clear suspect. No forced entry. No sign of struggle. Then, another strange thread emerged. Police took Jennifer's work laptop and phone for digital forensics. Buried in her email logs and browser history was something subtle, but curious. A pattern. A series of messages between her and a coworker, a manager at the timeshare company. According to friends, this man had developed feelings for Jennifer. Made a few comments. Suggested they grab dinner after work. But Jennifer had made it clear, she wasn't interested. She didn't date coworkers. She told people about it, brushed it off, but didn't seem worried. When police questioned the man, he was cooperative. Admitted his interest, but denied anything beyond that. His alibi checked out. Still, the timing was unsettling. The deeper they looked, the more dead ends they hit. In 2007, Jennifer's employer, a prominent timeshare mogul, put up a $1 million reward for her safe return, an enormous sum, with one catch: the deadline was July 4th. It was never claimed. Later, a smaller reward remained available for any information leading to her remains. But no one came forward. Jennifer's face was on billboards, flyers, news broadcasts. Her story was shared across the country. True crime forums dissected the timeline. Psychics offered their visions. Tip lines stayed open. And through it all, her family kept pushing. They pressed the Orlando Police Department for updates, pushed them to investigate new angles. Eventually, they filed a lawsuit just to gain access to the case files. In 2019, they were granted 16,000 pages of documents. Reading through them, Jennifer's father later said it felt like being stabbed in slow motion. Leads had been missed. Evidence had sat untouched. Some documents contradicted others. Witness statements had gone unrecorded. It was a nightmare of bureaucracy layered over real-life horror. And yet, still, no closer to the truth. Years passed. Rumors surfaced, some believable, others twisted by time. That Jennifer had been trafficked. That someone had followed her home. That someone had gained access to her condo. That maybe the abduction had happened before she even made it out the door that morning. One theory suggested that the suspect who dropped her car off might have taken her earlier, during the night. That they'd held her somewhere. Waited. Cleaned up. And then walked away like nothing had happened. And that, maybe, Jennifer never even saw it coming. Then, there's the most chilling part of all, the video. That grainy, frustrating, almost poetic footage of the unknown figure walking away from Jennifer's car. Perfectly obscured by the iron bars of a gate. A camera that captured images every 3 seconds, just enough time for fate to hide the face in every single frame. As if some dark force was intervening, protecting whoever did it. The FBI called in NASA to enhance the footage. They were able to determine height, even gait. But nothing conclusive. Not enough for facial recognition. Not enough for an ID. Just a shadow. A silhouette. A secret, preserved by coincidence or design. To this day, that person has never been identified. And Jennifer Kesse has never been found.